welcome to the 58th episode of NiinaNknitting. My name is Niina and I live in Jyväskylä in central Finland with my husband, 2 kids and a dog. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about my knitting mostly, but this time I have quite a bit of other crafty things too. Knitting will be a smaller portion of this episode. Today is Thursday, the 28th of May, and I'm home alone. My daughter is at daycare or preschool, and my son is at school. My husband stayed in the countryside where he has his place of business, his work. Tomorrow will be the last day of preschool for my daughter, last day ever. After that, she'll be going to school next fall. She'll be starting her summer vacation on Saturday, which is the last day of school for my son. He's on the 9th grade now. So the last day of middle school ever. That's kind of exciting. Usually, of course, we don't go to school on Saturdays, but this is an exception, just to close the spring semester. I'll put my Ravelry and Instagram info on the screen. On Ravelry, I'm Niinima, and I have a Ravelry group for this podcast. You can find it in the groups tab by searching NiinaNknitting podcast. I'll have a link in the description box to the episode thread where you'll find my show notes, and maybe this time I will put the show notes under the video too. I intended to do that last time, but just didn't. Maybe I will this time. On Instagram, I'm at NiinaNknitting. So I've been at home for just over 2 weeks now, and I had a compelling need to sew when I came back, because I knew my sewing machine would be here on the dining room table where it is at the moment, where it is still. I still have a couple of repairing stuff to do, and then I'll be putting it back up in the cabinet in my bedroom. But yeah, so you'll see quite a few sewn objects today. Then I have a bit of crochet, and then I'll be showing you just one little thing in knitting. Let's start with the sewing. I made a sort of step-by-step video of my first sewing project. I made my daughter a t-shirt, and I'll add videos in here. I'm going to make my daughter a t-shirt using this Kids ABB tee, ABB being anything but basic. I made myself 2 t-shirts using the adult version of this, just this winter, I think. So it comes with a booklet of instructions. There are instructions for printing the pattern. This is a free pattern online. So there are instructions for printing the pattern, taking measurements, etc. Of course, I had not read any of that when I printed it, and that's why my printed version has all the sizes that there are for this shirt. So they are like this. Once I printed it, yesterday I started taking measurements of my daughter and then decided which size she is, because she's tall for her age, but she's also heavy. So I knew that being like she's 7, but I imagine that 7-year-old, size 7-year-old would not be good for her. And I was right. So I'm making her size 12-year-old. I remember that when I made this same t-shirt for myself, I found it quite long and I shortened it. I don't remember how much. Because she's not as tall as the average 12-year-old, I don't think she will need the shirt to be as long as the pattern calls for. Anyway, so I had used some scotch to glue these together, and then I used pergamon. It's sort of a baking sheet, but it's not for baking. You can't put it in the oven. I have a 50-meter long roll of it, and then I just placed it on top of these and traced her size, making sure that I put all the markers that there are in here. There weren't that many, but anyway. And then I wrote on the pieces which pattern it is, which piece. This is the back piece, and then that it includes seam allowances, because not all patterns do. Just that if I happen to make this shirt again for my daughter, I'll know or remember what size it was, etc. So I have, this is a very, very basic, even though it's called anything but basic. So it has a front piece, a back piece, and a sleeve. I'm making her a short sleeve version. So I pinned down the front piece from the fold, and I know it's gonna be still a little narrow for her, even though it's size 12-year-old. So I'm just gonna add maybe 2 centimeters on the side, so that hopefully it won't be too tight for her. And then after I've sewn it all together, we'll try it on, and then I'll try to remember to mark it down which modifications I made, so that I'll remember next time. As you can see, I already folded the hem because I know it will be too long for her, and yeah, go from that. So I have my pieces all cut out. As you can see, I added 2 centimeters here in the front piece and added a little less on the sleeve, because you need the space to fit the sleeve in so that it'll match. No extras in the back piece because she doesn't have a large back. And now for the pinning them together and sewing. I have an old Singer sewing machine, and when I say old, I mean I bought it 20 some years ago, 25-ish or something. So yeah, it's been around for a while. It has never been serviced in a way. I've never taken it to anybody who knows what to do. I've been oiling some parts every now and then, but I'm not very good at those. But anyway, I'm going to sew up the shoulder seams now. And now that I have finished sewing the shoulder seams, I'm going to pin the sleeves on their places. I'm going to turn the seam allowance of the shoulder to the back, and then try to make sure that they are right sides against each other, and that these markers meet where they should be. So the sleeves are there, starting to look like a t-shirt, and the last thing I can do for now is sew the side seam. So I'll just have to see that the armpits are in their places, and then I think there was another mark here somewhere along the side. Yeah, so I'll just align those and then zoom, do the seams. I was checking my own t-shirt that I have on actually, and realized that, oh yeah, I had made a stitch here at the sleeve seam. It's not necessary, I think, but it does look kind of nice, so that's what I'm gonna do. I don't think the pattern calls for it, or that the instructions say to do it, but I will. So I'll just turn the seam allowance to the part, well, away from the sleeves, and then I'll do a stitch there with just plain straight stitch. Alrighty, so here's where we are now. All the seams have been sewn. What's left is the neckband and hemming, of course, and then folding doing the hem of the sleeve, whatever. Yeah, but that's after we try it on to see whether we need to modify it anyway. I don't want it to be too loose, but just not tight. I find my own t-shirts, the ones that I made with the adult version, I could have made them narrower from the bottom, but well, of course I have some bust. She doesn't really, but from this part my shirts are pretty okay, but I maybe should take them in a little bit from the hem, but I'm not sure if I have the energy to do that. But we'll be trying this on after my daughter gets home from daycare, and then see what happens next. So that'll be the neckband and the finishing off the sleeves, and then the hem. Sorry about the crappy lighting again. I'm in the bathroom. As could be expected, my daughter chose this Paw Patrol image to be put on the t-shirt. It's finished. Oh, that looks really bad. Well, no can do. So this does have a sort of a sticky background. So it's kind of like a sticker, but it's recommended that you also iron it. So that's what I am going to do, and then I'm going to iron the whole t-shirt so that we'll be able to get some pictures. Aika nopea oli. Teepä vähän hitaammin. Yeah, and as you can see, maybe from this last video clip, I could have made the shirt longer. I think I left out a little bit of the seam allowance of the hem, and well, might have been better with a little more hem, but yeah, it's fine. Then my next sewing thing is what I'm wearing. This t-shirt is a free pattern online from kangaskauppa.fi. Put a link on the screen, and this shirt is called Aaltopaita. Aalto meaning wave, but Aalto also is the last name of the Finnish designer designing houses and home decorations. This Aalto vase. Anyway, all about Aalto, but yeah, beside the point. But this is my shirt, and it's a free download PDF. This fabric is something I bought from Jyvaskylankangaskauppa. I've made a couple of beanies out of it, and I've shown them to you on my podcast before. And this part is a fabric from Eurokangas. I've used them both before. Before I get up and show to you more, let's talk about sizing. So once upon a time, I was a size 38 for a number of years. That was before the kids, so granted. And I did not think that I was size 38 anymore. I was sort of estimating that maybe I'm a 42. And if your sizing is different from ours, sorry, I really don't know how to convert these into any other sizing things, but I have a bust size of 105 centimeters, if that tells you anything. Now, on the Kangaskauppa website, there is a chart that goes, I think, applies to every pattern they have in there. And bust size 105 is not 42. And my waist size, I think, was also not 42. I don't remember how much. What's the circumference of my waist? Maybe I just want to forget. But yes, so 105 bust size was, according to their chart, size 48. Shocking. My size 48? Really? I don't know. There was no information that I could find on whether the size, like bust size 105 centimeter, meant your bust size or the garment. I'm guessing it's yours. And like I said, I don't have a lot of problem with my size. Yes, I'd like to be thinner and all that, but I don't have a really big problem with it. But it was a shock to see which clothing size it meant. Anyway, so I didn't find any measurements of the finished garments either, or maybe I just didn't look hard enough. So I just didn't. I played it safe, and I drew the charts or the pieces, whatever, of size 48. Even though my hips were maybe 44, maybe 44, size 44, because I'm not as big in the hips, I guess. Okay, I'll just stand up and show you, or try and show you the shirt. Now you can't see my head, but that's okay. This pattern is very easy to sew. Basically, it has two pieces, front piece and the back piece. But of course, since you have two different fabrics, you have an upper part of the front piece and a lower part of the front piece, then yes, you have 4 pieces in total. But it's very, very straightforward to sew. So after you've cut the pieces, you sew this seam on the front piece and the back. And then you just sew shoulders and the sides, and then you hem it and fold the sleeves and the neckline. But as you can see, well, first of all, I think from the bust, this is my size. I already made it a little narrower from the hip, but actually I could have taken in maybe 1 more centimeter from the hip. Not that much from the waist though, because I don't want it to be like, yeah, like this. No. And the hem, which is curved in the front and the back, it's not easy to hem. If you have any suggestions, any tricks on how to hem a curved hem, how to fold a curved hem, please let me know. Of course, I didn't try and find anything on YouTube because that would just not be me. But I gotta admit that it's not very neat. It had a 2 centimeter or 2 or 3 centimeters wide hem or fold in the hem, and on a curved line like this, that's not easy. Besides, I mentioned it when I was showing you my sewing machine that it's not a very new one and it hasn't been serviced. Maybe I should get somebody to look at it, because the stitch isn't great, but yeah, it's fine in that respect. The armholes were okay because it's only a centimeter fold, but then the neckline, which is nice and I like the look of it, but that also was not easy to fold because of these places. I think you were supposed to fold 2 centimeters, but it was, well, I fudged it. Maybe I might try to make, what's it called? The French call it parmenture. So you'll have another piece, like a few centimeters wide piece, where you make the neckline nice and tidy. I might try to do that if I make this shirt again. And I might, because it's nice. It sort of, the shape is nice. Just that I had a few issues, like my size. But of course, if I had a different fabric, I mean, these are quite elastic fabrics. Don't you like the stitches in here? But even the lower is a jersey. It's pretty sturdy. So I don't think it would look good with negatives. I think that's what I'm trying to sort of say. But yeah, the hem doesn't really bother me because usually I wear jeans and I tuck my t-shirt in my jeans, so you can't even see it. This time I just let it show. Besides, I'm wearing the pants I made earlier, and I've shown them to you in my podcast before. Did I write down anything else? No, I think that's it. So yeah, I like the shirt. It would have been super easy to make with the two little things, the hem, curved hem. Maybe I'll try to make it straight next time, and then I'll have to make the lower part narrower, but it's kind of okay around the bust, in my opinion. Then I have a third sewing project, and actually I have two pieces, two of them. I found online, maybe it was in one of the French podcasts that I watch, because I have quite a few who also sew and not only knit. Because somebody, I think, mentioned this blog where they found a basket made out of fabric, and that's what I did. This is the first one I did. So this is from a blog, French blog called Colori, and well, it's panier en tissu. So it's a basket made out of fabric. I use some fabric that I have in my stash. They're both pretty sturdy. I think sort of upholstery fabrics or curtains or something. The blog has a sort of a recipe for making this. It said that you have, first of all, you cut out two rectangles, which are where the longer side of the rectangle is 2.25 times the height, if you know what I mean. And so I started with a fabric that was 40 centimeters high, and then it was 62 centimeters wide, I think. And I sewed this one. I'll link the blog. It's very easy with photos, and besides, the sewing is really easy. This is how the bottom looks. And yeah, it's the same in the inside. I thought it was really fun. And then you can fold down the brim of the basket. Originally, I started to make this for my sister. She has her birthday in October, but I thought for once I could do something well in advance. She's quite an environmentally conscious person. It's her work too. So I was thinking that I might start well in advance crocheting some of those facial cotton pads or something. And I thought this kind of a basket would be good to put them in. Well, this one, of course, is pretty big. So it's not really for the purpose, I think. So I'm gonna keep this for myself. I'll find something to do with it. Besides, I do feel it's a little busy with the two fabrics that are kind of busy. So I made another one, a second one, and this one was smaller. I'll put it on screen how much the rectangle was from which I started. But yeah, so I have the same green fabric on the outside, but then I took some flannel, is it? Baby stuff to put in the inside. And the same kind of bottom, and I think this size is perhaps better for the cotton pads.
and then fold it like this. That's nice. And it's really, really fast to sew because you only have like straight seams, and then you turn it around and voila, you have a basket. So that's nice. Let's move on to crochet. And I also have a little video of my first crochet projects.
My next finished object is something that I made 3 times. This pattern is called Sakura Market Bag by Kame Crochet. That is Kristina Anna Matejok Edomer or something like that. So it's a bag with some net in here. What's really wonderful about it is the start, the beginning. This is beautiful. So this is a crochet project. I use different kinds of scrap yarn for it. These 2, I think, are something that I bought online years ago. And the bobbins are in Chinese. There are some percentages, but no weight or meters, so I don't even know which weight yarn this is. But yeah, so I had to fiddle a little bit. But yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. I made the beginning, all of this according to the pattern, and then moved on to the mesh or the net section. And then I ran out of yarn, and then I took another yarn. This I assume is partly acrylic, maybe, yes, but I guess this may be bamboo and cotton. This and this, the 2 last yarns in this bag, are both 100% acrylic. These are some baby yarns I had in my stash. So the net section in here is, I think, I didn't even count the rows, but I think it is shorter than what's in the instructions, but it's kind of boring to do. Besides, yeah, well, I just, at some point I decided that, yeah, it's big enough. And so I proceeded with the instructions to the next phase. And then this round is according to the pattern, the first one here with the single crochets, American terms. But the next 2 rounds with the half double crochets, I did some decreases on these two rows because I kind of figured that it was pretty big. The opening of the bag was pretty big, especially since I didn't make it deep as in the instruction. But yeah, so I did some decreases, and then the handles, and yeah, this is the last one I did. I just finished last night, and I have 2 others on the balcony, and they have been washed, and I'll just pop on the balcony to show them to you. And here are the 2 other bags which have been washed, and they are dry. I have some really icky laundry pins in here. Should have taken them off. But as you can see, I used different yarns for these. I used the same red yarn for the beginnings. I was sure that I'd run out, so I took another yarn to continue. And this blue is sort of the same kind of yarn as the red one. And then I switched to the baby yarn that I have used in here, so these are the acrylic ones. here. And then I have the third one, which is more or less yellow. I was afraid that I'd run out of yarn here too, so at some point it's a different yellow. Actually, it's pretty much the same yellow, but the yarn is different. So this is the one that I think is maybe cotton and bamboo, and this is acrylic. And then I finished this one with just some white baby yarn, acrylic baby yarn.
I don't think I remember to mention on the clips that I used a wooden crochet hook for it. This is like this is 3.5 millimeter hook, made out of wood. It's from a set that I ordered online, probably from eBay some time ago. And I was originally intending this for one of my nieces, who was sort of getting interested in handicrafts, and I didn't like the shape of these, so I got her something else. But first of all, the hook. So it's not very pointy, not focused either. Okay, you can see something. It's blurry, I'm sorry. Don't know how to do anything about this. But yeah, this is not very pointy, and the shape of the hook itself, it's kind of wide. I'm used to the sort of hooks that I have, like they're pointy from the top, and then the hook itself has a clear point in them too. This one doesn't, and that's why I didn't give them to my niece. And I haven't used them myself, but I've misplaced my regular set of hooks. They're somewhere, but I just don't know where. And so since I was sort of pretty in a hurry to get something for the daycare teachers, I just tried to live with these hooks, even though I don't like them. And I do say that it was not easy to crochet with these. Not only the shape of the hook, but also the fact that it's wood. It doesn't glide as well, because I'm a tight hooker, crocheter. I'm a tight crocheter, so normally I am. So it's not easy. And with some sort of a cotton bamboo or cotton yarn, it was pretty okay, I think, because I think some of the yarns were cotton or cotton bamboo mix. But with the acrylic, this was really terrible. I did not like it at all, but I powered through. I have another crochet object. It's something that I crocheted yesterday. And it's a necessity thing. For the 2 weeks that we've been here in the city, I'm here without a car. We only have one, and my husband needs it at the countryside. And it's fine because, I can go anywhere on bike. But if you go to buy some groceries, well, I tend to go every day. And if you go and buy something every day, you end up buying just a little bit of something extra every day. And that's not good. So we have this home delivery kind of thing with the stores, especially now with the coronavirus, but I think they already had the same system before. It's become more important at the moment. But so I've ordered in more or less a week's worth of groceries. But all of them are, if you buy fruit or veggies, they're in plastic bags, and I'm not too keen on them. And I needed an onion bag to put the onion in, because I don't want to leave them in the plastic bag. I think they go off easier or faster in a plastic bag. So I needed an onion bag, and here it is with all my onion. So this is my onion bag with the onions, and here's where I started it. So I used some sort of crochet yarn or thread that I got from a friend of mine. And I guess this is pretty old. I don't know if they make it anymore. I haven't Googled it though. Rondo Virkkauslanka, Rondo crochet thread from Helsingin Villakehräämö. There's 550 meters in 100 grams. And it's 100% mercerized cotton. That's what I used for the pouch. And I used a hook from this set, but the small sizes would have a metal hook, and I like them better. This is 2.5 millimeter hook, and I don't think there is a letter for it in the American system. But yeah, this was okay to crochet. I did not use a pattern. I just started with 5 and chained 5 and put it in a ring or hoop with a slip stitch. Yeah. I could have used a magic ring too, but I felt that because it's gonna be the starting point of this pouch or this bag, I'll be able to get it more more easily fastened, or like more secure in the bottom if it's not a magic loop that you not magic loop magic ring that you have to weave in the end. Of course, I did weave in the end of the yarn, but this was all already like secured because I had a slip knot, very tight one, and then I had the ring with a slip stitch, and then I started working it up from there. I have my notes in my project page if you're interested. This shape is okay with the onions. I'll probably try and make some more for fruit and experiment on the shape and what's gonna be better with like apples, because that's kind of a narrow bag, that one. But yeah, I made it one day. It was easy, fast, etc. And now I have one, and I don't have to have the onions in a plastic bag, which is nice. And of course, once I start going to the stores myself, then I can have this kind of bags for my fruit with me. For the tag, because in most stores you weigh the fruit yourself and then you put the price tag on the bag. I'll probably put some sort of a card where you can stick that price tag. But yeah, that was a fast project. Then my only knitting project, one that you haven't seen before. You have only seen the yarn, but it's nice and finished. This is the only sort of knitting project that I've really been knitting on, and it's the pair of socks for my niece that I mentioned last time. Are they great? Okay, the yarn here is Lang Yarn's Mille Colori socks and lace Luxe. 400 meters in 100 grams, 73% virgin wool, 25% polyamide, and 2% polyester, which is the glitter, the shining here. And the pattern for these is from a book that I have in here. I got this from a festival, I think, a few years ago. So they're all Alice Yu patterns. The book's called Octopus, and this particular pattern is called To Love Crew. I'll put it on the screen because it's spelled nicely. And this is how it looks in the book. Oh, you can see the name in there. But as you can see, I kind of did it differently. I used a different yarn. So I used my 2.5 millimeter Chagu needles. Knit these 2 at a time on magic loop from one ball, like I normally do when I knit 2 at a time. So I have one yarn from the inside of the cake or a ball and one from the outside. And that's because I don't like leftovers, and I really don't want my leftovers to be in 2 pieces, like in 2 balls, if I can avoid it. So yeah, this yarn, even though it says socks and lace, is not ideal for socks. When it comes to fiber content, really okay, yeah, but this is a single ply, and it's not very tightly spun, I think. It's thick and thin, but it's pretty. The colors are absolutely amazing. And I really like the fact that they're not an identical pair. The motif in the socks is really easy to remember, easy to memorize. It's really pretty too. I really like these little hearts. So pretty. And oh, the glimmer. The fact that the heels are different color is absolutely amazing. And even though the yarn or the colors are different, the sort of the stripe sequence seems to be more or less pretty close to being the same, which is fun. And even the toes are sort of different color, but the same, more or less the same amount of a new color coming, just where you graft the socks together. The pattern itself, there were some errors in the pattern. There was the errata in online somewhere on Ravelry, I think. The designer has a Ravelry group, and there's a separate, I think there was a separate thread for this pattern, and there were some corrections to how you would transition from the leg to the heel flap. This is a heel flap. heel flap, French heel turn, and gusset. I didn't really read all the instructions because I've made quite a few socks, so I was sort of winging it with the help of the instructions. But they're really pretty. They're absolutely amazing. I haven't taken any photos of them yet, but since it's a really nice and sunny weather, I'll probably go outside and try to find a nice place in which I can take a pretty picture of the socks. Amazing, really amazing. What did I write down? So yeah, because the yarn is challenging, it's loosely spun and thick and thin. Well, mostly because it's loosely spun. I was really, really enjoying my Chaogu needles because the Chaogus have a very pointy tip, and that was sort of my savior when I was knitting those because it's very splitty. It's very splitty, and I think it's more suited for shawls and that sort of project, not so for socks. And of course, it's not going to wear too well. But you know, my niece will be turning 10, so I don't expect her to be wearing these socks for many years because her foot is gonna grow out of them. So they're pretty, the colors are nice, there's some shiny shiny objects, so I'm happy with the pair. Yeah, so that's those are my objects, my projects that I've been working on, more or less. I have picked up my Manzo cardigan that I've talked about in my previous episodes. Like I told you last time, I was gonna rip back what I had knit of the sleeves. I've ripped one sleeve and started to re-knit it, but there's really nothing to show you in that. And then I have the woolen pants, but I haven't done anything about them either. So yeah, I hope to finish the cardigan first, and then I'll be moving on to other things. Maybe knit some more bags for fruit, and who knows what I come up with and what I see shiny new things. Yeah. So next project that we have as a family is, of course, summer vacation that starts more or less this Saturday. The government recommends not traveling, not even domestically, even though the corona situation is calm. Even though the kids have been at school and daycare here in Jyvaskylanka, they're fine, and it's the situation is getting better for now, but of course we don't know how it evolves, what happens later on. So we have no plans for the summer so far. We'll just see what happens and what we come up with. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my episode. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do. And you can always give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I really don't, I have to admit that I don't really pay attention to whether I get thumbs up or thumbs down. And giving a thumbs down isn't very informative. So if there's something that you feel I could do differently that would be better, I'm open to all kinds of suggestions. But yeah, it would be nice if you could sort of tell me what it is that's not good and not just leave a thumbs down. 'Cause, I'm not offended if I get thumbs down. I mean, I am what I am. But I'd appreciate the feedback if you have any. And then there is the thread for the thread on Ravelry, and you can always leave comments in there too. Now that I mention it, Heli talked about secondhand selling or buying secondhand stuff that was wrong. That she felt that people were buying more secondhand stuff online now that the secondhand stores have been closed because of the coronavirus. Well, maybe I'm just not a good salesperson, which is something that I know because I have worked as a what's the word? In telemarketing. I did that for 2 years, and I was not good at it, and I felt it all the time that this is not what I'm good at it, and I would do better doing different things. But I just was doing it for the money. But that was not a very good time of life at that point. But yes. So I'm not good at selling stuff. I have been trying to sell my daughter's old bunk bed because we got her a new bed at the beginning of this year, and ever since I've had the old one in on an online store or whatever you call it, secondhand store. But no, nobody's interested. Yeah, but that's a comment that I have gotten. And then there was another comment about, yes, buying stuff and not buying stuff. Like I said, because of our finance, I haven't been really buying stuff a lot. I've been buying from my stash, which is in that direction, and I haven't had much trouble finding stuff to make from my stash, so that's fine. But I hope that people don't feel bad if they're buying things, and if the only explanation is that they want to support the dyers or the stores, that's good. If it's just an excuse, that's fine too. And not for my sake, you shouldn't feel bad about it. This is just what I do, and it's just I've gotta stay sensible. And when I have the opportunity, I will do other stuff. And I do try to like Yarn Dyer's Instagram posts and videos if they have podcasts on YouTube, etc. And in that way, I try to show my support. But for the moment, that's all I can do, and I try not to sort of feel guilty about not buying things, because that's just not in the cards right now. Was not planning to talk about that, but that's fine. Okay, I hope you have a really nice summer. I will be back when I get back. Well, in some weeks, but I don't know how long. And in the meanwhile, I hope you have a nice time with whatever you do. I hope you stay safe. And if you happen to be not feeling well, I hope you do get well soon. Bye.